Good morning. It's June 29th, and this is your daily brief in science. Here's everything you need to know. A newly analyzed Megalodon vertebra from the Gram Formation in Denmark reinforces estimates that this giant predator reached about 24.3 meters, or 80 feet, in length. The key finding centers on a 23-centimeter diameter vertebra from the 1978 Gram clay pits discovery, one of roughly 20 vertebrae that have informed maximum size assessments. New reanalysis using micro-CT imaging of growth bands suggests the shark was at least 64 years old at death, with a possible maximum around 96 years. The study emphasizes the ongoing value of museum collections, noting that additional insights can emerge from old specimens and casts already in hand. A team led by Kenshu Shimada and including researchers from Denmark and Australia performed the imaging and analysis, working with fragments and casts that preserve only parts of the original material. Imaging large, low-contrast vertebrae posed technical challenges, yet the researchers generated over 100 gigabytes of micro-CT data to support their conclusions. The fossil material comes from a deep, offshore seabed dated to about 10.8 million years ago, a period when the area hosted a rich marine ecosystem with sharks, rays, fishes, marine mammals, seabirds, and sea turtles. Even without a complete skeleton, combining vertebral size, growth bands, and surrounding microfossils helps refine understanding of Megalodon's size, growth, lifespan, and feeding ecology, while acknowledging remaining uncertainties. Surrounding sediment contained tiny scales and gill structures that may belong to a basking shark, suggesting the possibility of associated prey remains and a broader, opportunistic diet for Megalodon. Incidental basking shark fragments found in the surrounding rock likely represent Megalodon diet rather than belonging to the basking sharks themselves. The study underlines that additional discoveries may still lie hidden in old specimens, given the volume of data and the variety of associated microfossils. A new framework links fermionic topological orders with quantum error correction, extending to all abelian fermionic orders with gapped boundaries and delivering an exact Bosonization map for Z-prime DF symmetries under certain conditions. Researchers from Peking University and Stony Brook University introduce Majorana-Pauli stabilizer codes to model intrinsically fermionic topological phases, enabling an exactly solvable fermionic toric code by coupling Z8 Pauli operators with Majorana modes. They realize a non-trivial Z8F fermionic SPT phase without a free fermion analog, showing the method can generate quantum phases beyond conventional approaches. The work provides a solvable framework for modeling intrinsically fermionic topological phases, including lattice constructions that capture long-range entanglement and protected edge states with potential implications for quantum materials, science, and computing. Majorana-Pauli stabilizer codes offer enhanced algebraic control over fermionic topological orders, overcoming limits of purely Majorana approaches and enabling precise manipulation of anyons, string operators, and braiding statistics via stabilizer algebra. The framework delivers a unified stabilizer description that bridges bosonic topological orders, symmetry-enriched phases, and symmetry-protected topological phases through a common algebraic structure applicable to fermionic systems. A new study shows that the internal hydrophobic core of polymer nanoparticles, engineered by polymerization-induced self-assembly, plays the dominant role in ice recrystallization inhibition, not just the surface corona. Researchers used raft-mediated aqueous PISA and a splat assay to quantify IR1 as a percentage of ice grain size relative to a control. Soft core polymers with low glass transition temperatures, such as PBZA, exhibit stronger IRY activity than hard, high TG cores like PBZMA, indicating that greater core mobility enhances inhibition. Crossing into practical implications, this work suggests potential benefits for cryopreservation of tissues, cells, and organs, improvements in frozen food texture, and the development of anti-icing coatings for infrastructure and vehicles. Importantly, cross-linking soft cores with ethylene glycol dimethacrylate abolishes IR1 despite modest TG changes, underscoring that core dynamics are essential for inhibition. Increasing core length and particle size generally strengthens IR1, implying interfacial presentation and aggregation contribute to activity. The study varied corona chemistries and core blocks to map how core composition, rigidity, and cross-linking affect IR1, concluding that core architecture and mobility matter more than corona alone. DI block nanoparticles with various coronas outperformed free polymers in IRI, with core properties driving the effect. This prompts reevaluation of nanoparticle design in fields like drug delivery, catalysis, and sensing, where core shell dynamics may be critical. PISA's scalability points to practical translation in commercial and clinical settings, enabling cost-effective, tunable ice management materials. A hard-hitting liver specialist known online as the Liver Doc confronts Ayurveda and unregulated traditional remedies while championing evidence-based medicine, a stance that has stirred intense online debate and formal scrutiny from India's Ayush ministry. His combative style is a deliberate choice to spotlight scientific points and counter misinformation that could derail public health messages, a tactic some supporters defend as necessary. Behind the screen, colleagues and family describe him as patient and courteous, contrasting with a provocative online persona that his wife says is newly amplified in public. His drive comes from seeing resource-strained care in Kolkata, and later the impact of alcohol use disorder and traditional medicines on Kerala's liver disease burden, fueling a push for scientific scrutiny. A turning point was treating a child who died after a family used a homemade herbal concoction, a moment that reinforced his focus on the risks of traditional medicine. His work includes peer-reviewed studies on liver injury linked to traditional Indian medicines and crowd-funded investigations into protein powders and generic medicines, pursued despite financial and personal costs. Phillips argues that modern medicine corrects itself while alternative practices resist self-critique, a dynamic that has fueled public feuds with celebrities and practitioners alike. He has reduced his patient load to about 25 per day and has not drunk alcohol in 4 years to align with his medical counsel, even as legal challenges and personal strain continue. Despite threats to his family and millions spent on defense, Phillips remains committed to pursuing what he sees as the truth for the public good and continuing his public health mission. A fossil from James Ross Island marks the first dinosaur identified in Antarctica, a titanosaur tailbone that places Antarctica within the Cretaceous dinosaur record. The find suggests a forested, habitable landscape with large herbivores about 82 million years ago in the late Cretaceous. Ice and rock make Antarctic paleontology challenging, but discoveries like this help integrate the continent into wider Cretaceous ecosystems. The material comes from a BBC News compilation of video links and does not present a single narrative article, and specific details such as species name, exact location, dating, and researchers are not provided in the excerpt. The specimen indicates a titanosaur, part of a long-necked, four-legged group of herbivores, with the Antarctic titanosaur estimated at about 7 meters long, suggesting a juvenile or relatively small adult. Paleontologists identify the fossil as a titanosaur tailbone, aligning it with a lineage known for some of Earth's largest dinosaurs. A key figure is Professor Paul Barrett of the Natural History Museum, who noted distinctive vertebral features and a ball-and-socket joint arrangement that supported the titanosaur identification. The fossil was discovered in 1985 on James Ross Island and was originally catalogued as a vertebra of a large reptile, at first thought to be from a marine reptile. The James Ross Island find was later reinterpreted as a dinosaur fossil rather than a marine reptile, refining its paleontological significance. This discovery adds a data point that Antarctica was part of the late Cretaceous dinosaur landscape and helps paleontologists map the spread of titanosaurs across Gondwana. This has been your Daily Brief in Science. To read more about these stories, follow the links in the episode bio. You can also subscribe to these updates via email at www.brief.news. For more daily podcasts about the topics you love, visit brief.news/podcasts. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back with everything you need to know.